Hey, Scott, and everybody, welcome to the Silicon Insider podcast. So, it's been a chaotic week in the news. Not necessarily around here. We actually had some pretty good news around here. But as of Tuesday, a federal judge, actually, it's the United States Court of International Trade, ruled on Wednesday, I'm sorry, that the Trump tariff plan was null and void. They put a stay on it. And I guess later on the same day, a federal judge did the same thing. So the Trump administration looked like they were stuck, that they weren't going to be able to uh, finish out these negotiations and everything else because the two courts essentially said that's not the job of the president of the United States. It's the job of Congress. Well, that led to all sorts of conversations and announcements and pronouncements and everything else, noting that this thing had a precedent in some ways back to 1792, and that most presidents had done the equivalent of this for years with Congress's approval. All right, so whatever that all means, true or false, then on today, Thursday, the U.S. Court of Appeals says we're gonna put a stay on the injunctions, and so till this gets adjudicated, probably by the Supreme Court months from now. By then, it'll probably already be a fait accompli. So once again, we're getting this. We get federal judges who we're not even sure have the jurisdiction taking on a president who we're not sure can actually create law out of executive order. And we're waiting for Congress to concur. Do I have that all right?
Yeah, pretty much. I think a couple of things. One, I mean, it's almost folly trying to talk about this on a weekly podcast because it
Yeah.
changes so often. And two, it changes so often that although on Wednesday night after the announcement came out, the future shot higher, by the time the stocks traded Thursday, it was more responding, I think, to earnings from companies like Nvidia that were strong and less about tariffs. It's almost as if the markets are taking for granted that things are sloppy coming
Yeah.
from the White House when it, really affects the economy and tariffs. And we just don't know where we're going to be. And Wall Street doesn't like uncertainty, so it's kept us from going back to the levels we were at. But it also doesn't really believe anything one way or another because so much has just flip-flopped on this.
Yeah, I was on the BBC show last night, and they were kind of asking me to explain all this, and I really couldn't. And I thought to myself, well, what do you do if you're another country and you're in trade negotiations over tariffs with the White House, and you get this news that it may not matter? Where do you go from there? I mean, Japan has a giant delegation at the Treasury Department right now, trying to negotiate, and they're getting this contradictory news. Is it on? Is it off? What do? They just rent an apartment in, Georgetown and wait it out. I mean, the whole world seems to be in a tizzy about this. The other guest on the show last night was a woman from Bangladesh. And she says it's a terrible thing. Thank goodness. This was before today's announcement. So she was like, thank goodness these tariffs aren't going to be imposed because we're a poor country and we're based on textiles, et cetera, et cetera. And everybody's talking about this right now around the world, but nobody has any idea. I'm not even sure Trump knows how this thing spins out.
No, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. So there we go. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We're coming up on that 90-day window, too. So is that going to be extended? Meanwhile, the market, weirdly enough today, seemed more interested in NVIDIA's news than on this global semi-crisis. I mean, it's almost as if the market said, it is what it is. And, it's old news now. We've kind of incorporated in best and worst case scenarios. But now look at Nvidia. Let's get back into that game. So Nvidia, despite the fine for chips to China, despite the basically closed off market, despite the fact that the White House has now announced that most of the chip design companies like Cadence and Synopsys here in town in Silicon Valley, they're not going to be able to sell their design software in China. I mean, China seems to be getting closed off completely, and yet Nvidia has a 70% boost in quarterly earnings. That's astounding. And I'm sure part of it is the Blackwell chip is just a monster. And now you've got other companies that are starting to develop servers with it. And it seems to be unbelievably powerful. And it's going to set off another almost new AI revolution.
Well, I mean, as you and I talk, it's Thursday night, markets are closed, but earlier in the day, I was at an event with Jensen Huang, the NVIDIA CEO, and the talk among everybody, not just press, but analysts and even the techies that work there was, I mean, this is a company fined, or not even fined, but just that took a charge of billions of dollars. So the
Yeah.
tariff is affecting them that much. And yet their profit margin is so high that the earnings were once again spectacular. Investors piled in briefly on Thursday. It overtook Microsoft to be the most valuable company in stock market value. At the end of the day, it's off by just a tiny fraction. But this is a company that a lot of people were worried about because it was going to be the poster child for getting hit by the tariffs against China. And boy, did it ever. I mean, billions of dollars in charges. And yet business is so good for this AI leader that its stock price continues to go up.
Yeah, I mean, it cloaked all the bad news with incredible good news. And I mean, Jensen's not happy with the current arrangement. He thinks that we're being stupid fighting China like this, and that as long as companies like Nvidia stay innovative, they can't catch up. But they should be respected because they're doing good AI stuff over there too. And he's one of these guys that believes more competition is better.
Right, but you can see the other side. I mean, governments don't want China's AI to be better than America's AI. And so they're kind of in the middle of this sort of cold war when it comes to business between the two countries, and potentially a tariff war between the two countries, where the more open the relationship is, the more money NVIDIA makes. But on the other hand, the more relationship it is, maybe the better technology China gets. So they're trying to walk a fine line. When Jensen Huang spoke at the event, he hadn't done this for a while, but the last few times he spoke, he has called out President Trump and has really talked him up in a way that we'd only seen from the likes of Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg recently.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting because the latest report says China's being pretty recalcitrant about negotiating. And yet, everything you see on YouTube, if you can believe it, China's in serious trouble. But I also saw a Forbes article listing all of the companies in the U.S. that are now being affected by the tariff wars, and it goes from home furnishings to apparel to General Motors. I mean, the list is getting longer and longer. And you got to wonder how long. It's amazing China is holding out at all, but you get a sense that we can't hold out much longer too. So it'll be interesting to see. Embedded in that big bill is the Trump bill are some things that are going to might make the situation even worse, like taxing foreign income in the U.S. That's a bombshell that just happened. I mean, it's like you said, it's really hard to keep up. So let's move on. Elon Musk. Elon Musk is leaving Washington, and people haven't seemed to notice much that he actually said he was going to leave right now. So it's not a shocker. He's not been driven out of Washington. At the same time, though, he kind of left a landmine for the administration, which was, you know, Elon. I mean, he's a guy that says, "Here's a problem, I can fix it." And with Doge, he thought he had fixed it, and that would be the end of it. Everybody would be happy because he saved all this money. But I think he didn't count on DC inside the Beltway politics, which is all about shifting of power and negotiation and deal making. He's not a real deal making guy. He wants to get stuff done. And on the way out, he basically said he's so disappointed that that it's not he didn't, for all of his success with Doge, the federal deficit is just going to grow because of all the other stuff that's being larded into this bill. And I think he's sorely disappointed by that. I really thought he could save America in his mind. He also has to get back to Tesla because he almost had a shareholder revolt saying he better get back here and start doing 40 hours a week work. And his rocket blew up this week, so it probably wasn't the best week for him. I mean, he was going to get us to Mars, within a year. I think that's been backed off a little bit now. What do you think? Was he successful, or ultimately did he fail?
I think ultimately Doge failed, but not just because of the money thing. Remember, this was supposed to save America $2 trillion.
Yeah,
Now we're wondering if
77 billion or something.
maybe, and that's before taking into account what it cost. This may not be a win at all. And that's embarrassing. But what looked like an incredible investment, I mean, he invested what, $250 million in the Trump campaign,
Yeah.
and then was enriched, by tens or hundreds of billions of dollars or whatever Tesla stock went up. The brand, not just for Tesla, but for Musk himself, the damage that it took post-election. And it's you can't blame it on politics. I mean, don't give a Nazi salute if you're worried about your brand.
Yeah.
Don't, espouse the right wing if you're worried about your brand. Just shocking. And I mean, stunning the way Tesla went from absolute darling of the left, and for that matter, anyone who cares about climate, to a brand of fascists. And I mean, just they will teach classes in the disaster that was the last 6 months for Elon Musk. Now, ultimately, he did come out ahead financially. The stock is worth more. Not sure why Tesla investors have still piled in, even after, selling fewer cars and making less money. The stock still goes up, but there is an optimism about the future. But just the brand equity was lost in a way that I don't think I'd ever seen before by someone who didn't, kill anybody or anything like that.
Yeah, well, just today, I think he's former CNN, Chris Salesia, he
Oh, yeah.
he came out from his kid's ball game out to his Tesla and discovered that somebody had painted on his car or carved into it, Elon Musk is a Nazi, and it's like that didn't help his reputation. I mean, it didn't help Elon's reputation at all.
No, not at all. And it's surprising that someone who may have gone in with, hey, let's cut government waste, managed to screw up so incredibly badly, other than financially. His own bottom line seems to be better. I mean, Tesla stock is higher, but just the brand equity that Tesla lost, and certainly the personal brand equity that Musk lost, is stunning.
Yeah, and I think the part of the lesson here is, just because a guy is moving to change the world, and creating all these miracles doesn't mean that he understands the nuances of humanity. I mean, you know what I mean? We both spent time with him. You could almost see this coming, that he was going to be shocked and disappointed by the reception he got. Not the degree that we see, but I really thought he was going to go, he thought he was going to go in and be a hero to everybody. And it
I
wasn't
mean,
that.
but he's clearly surrounded by yes men. Someone he needed desperately, someone to say, hey, that salute idea, that's a bad idea. Or, hey, when people are losing their jobs because of you, maybe don't go on stage with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
I mean, these are just wildly inappropriate things that are completely tone deaf and flat out mean and flat out scary. And he's gone from, hey, someone trying to help the planet and maybe even help cut government waste to a genuinely bad guy who is only out for himself and has caused a lot of people a lot of harm. And now, even those who supported him by buying his cars are having swastikas carved into his cars, which are just ridiculous and bad on so many levels.
So, I mean, even if he hired an image specialist to say, don't pull out the chainsaw, would he have listened?
Oh, and that's another point. A very good question. Maybe not. But A, hire the image person, and B, listen to the image person. And you've saved a lot of time and effort and, goodwill.
Okay, the Fed, I guess Jerome Powell went in and saw the president, who's trying to get him to lower interest rates. It wasn't clear that Jerome Powell was interested in listening. We do have warnings from the Fed. Once again, stagflation is a serious risk right now. So, but apparently, no interest rate change. At
No,
least,
there's no reason to. There's no reason to. The economy is still in flux. We don't know what's going on with the tariffs. There's so much uncertainty. And the good news right now with all of that is prices haven't gone up all that much. By
right.
now, we would have expected some sort of tariff kick in or something, but they keep going back and forth. Some prices have gone up a bit, but we haven't yet seen the situation where one car on the lot is $40,000 and the one next to it is $52,000 and they're the same exact car. We haven't seen that yet.
Well, I think they're absorbing the tariff costs right now, and they're doing it temporarily, and they're going to take a hit in their revenues, which will probably impact the market at some point. But for right now, I think they're all saying we can absorb that shock, but don't go on too much longer. Cut some deals out there. Okay, finally, we're making this short today. Scott's getting ready to go on a 2-week vacation, so and he's got to go on the air. So I have one last thing, and that is, have you seen Flow TV?
Flow TV, I don't think I have.
It's Google's newest offering. And what it is, it's a repository for AI videos, where people are, creating, Star Wars in a trailer camp and all that stuff that's being created out there. YouTube now has a home for it. And apparently it's mesmerizing. It's even more interesting than YouTube in some ways. And you can just sort of like sit there like a kid watching Teletubbies for hours.
Well, I like the idea that you can watch something and not have to wonder if it's real or not because it's
Yes, it's
telling you we're fake.
if you happen to come across it, it's not real. We'll tell you that right now. You may think you're seeing a new bad Disney movie, but actually, it's a clever parody of a Disney movie. So anyway, you can reach it at Flow TV. Just search for that. If you want to create videos, apparently it's $250, but it's free to anybody who wants to hang out there. So it's another glimpse of the future, good or bad, and another addictive thing that we really don't need, but we want, kind of. So we'll leave it at that. And with that, folks, we'll see you in 3 weeks. And you know where to find Scott. No, he won't be on TV for the next couple of weeks, but you can find him everywhere else on Facebook and other things. And you can find me as usual here and on the BBC. So have a great couple weeks and enjoy the summer. It's finally here. Kids are out of school. So drive carefully. Let's hope they do too. Okay, bye bye.